Hey everyone, welcome back to another video review. Today we're going to be looking at the Antec Kühler H2O 920 CPU liquid cooler. Alright, and as you can see, this is the cooler itself. This is the heatsink and the CPU cooling block. And this is actually a liquid cooler, as you can see. So what I mean by this is that you actually have water cooling here. And the cool thing about this kind of water cooling is that you don't have to replace the liquid, so the coolant inside the entire system. So there is no maintenance needed except for perhaps cleaning out dust out of the radiator. But anyway, so right here we have the radiator. This is a 120mm radiator and you can install fans on both sides, and that's why Antec includes two fans with this CPU cooler. Now there are two pipes connecting the CPU block and the radiator, and these are very flexible. So let me quickly demonstrate. So you can basically make a lot of different movements with these tubes. They're quite flexible, you know. So positioning the cooler, well, the CPU block and the radiator will be quite easy. And also, again, as I said, these tubes, they are not going to let anything come out, so this is all waterproof, so the liquid inside is never going to come out normally. If it does, you should go get your warranty, but normally it shouldn't, and the chance that that happens is quite small, or maybe just like there's no chance that that will happen, except if you use scissors and snap the, the tubes, but that's not what you're supposed to do. That's your problem then. Anyway, right here we have the CPU cooling block, and I have this protection on still. But as you can see, this is the cooler, the cooling block, and they add some thermal paste here. And well, it's quite flat, but it's a little bit dirty, so I'm not sure why. Probably in the factory they touch it while putting the thermal paste on it, I don't know. But whatever, there's thermal paste on it, so it's probably gonna be good, just like that. And as you can see, there's a lot of cables coming from this CPU block. And the first cable is this one. And yeah, this one actually has two connections, and that's for the two included fans, the two PWM fans, which I'll get back to in a second. So actually they are going to be connected to this cable. Then there's this cable, and this is for actually connecting the CPU cooler to your motherboard. And not through a 4-pin connector or a 3-pin connector, but actually through USB. So you connect this to your internal USB connection. And then finally there's also this 3-pin connection for the pump power. So there's actually a pump for the water inside the cooler here. Yeah, it's right here. And yeah, you connect this to your motherboard, and that will be it. Now, why is there a USB connection included with this CPU cooler? Well, there's actually also software included with this cooler. Might sound a bit weird, but it is, and what you can do with that I will show you guys a bit later in the review. Now, as I said, Antec includes two fans with this cooler, and they have a black cable each, so a black cable like this, and a 4-pin connection, because these are PWM fans, and they can go from 700 RPM up to 2400 RPM. They can create a max airflow of 110 CFM and a maximum decibel level, and they're probably not gonna reach this a lot, or I'm guessing hopefully never, because the maximum decibel level is 43 decibels. But anyway, these two fans go on the heatsink during installation. And yeah, I'll show you guys that too a little bit later, right after I've showed you guys what else they include with the cooler. Alright, and those other things that I think include are the brackets for Intel and AMD, and also all the screws and other kind of little plastic pieces that you need for the installation. Alright, so one of the first things I'm going to do for installation is take the bracket here, which will be going here on the front, and put these little plastic pieces in it. And these are the parts for Intel, so I'm installing this on an Intel LGA 1155 CPU, and I have to install this like that, and I'm gonna do the other three. Alright, and now that that's done, we're gonna do the back plate, and for that we need to take these little kind of screw thingies, which we need to put in these holes correctly. So I'm gonna check out which socket is 1155 or 1156, and that should be this one right here. that in correctly. Or wait, yeah, that's it. And yeah, I'm gonna do this for the other sides as well. Alright, so I've actually got the backplate. I'm holding the backplate behind the motherboard now, and I gotta install this. So I kind of put it on here, make sure that I know which holes I'm supposed to look out for. So those would be the holes in the middle, or the closest to the middle. And alright, I gotta use these screws here, so those small ones. Alright, and what I'm doing now is actually screwing this bracket on, but not very tight, because we're gonna have to take the CPU block and put it here and turn it to lock it, and then we take a screwdriver and tighten it down so that there's a good contact between the CPU block and the CPU. What we have to do now is take one of the fans and install this one in the back. And for that they include 4 of these longer screws, and you just stick them through the holes. So 1, so they're all in. A bit annoying because it's gonna fall off. Alright. Alright, so now I'm taking the radiator together with the CPU block, and what I'm gonna do is gonna lay the CPU block inside the case for a second so that it's somewhere, and then I'm gonna take the fan, make sure that the screws are still inside the fan holes, because apparently it kind of came loose. So let me quickly do that again, and then we take the radiator and we start to actually fasten it with the screws that stick out of the fan. So make sure that you line the holes. Now you have to note that this is a mid-sized tower case, but a rather small mid-sized tower case. This is the Antec Solo 2 case, and there's going to be another fan here, so let me show you that. So there's going to be another fan here, just like that. And you know, it takes up a lot of space here, but now I just have to put the CPU block there, and that's basically going to be it. And then I can put the graphics card back in and start the system. But yeah, there's not that much space because this is quite a large liquid cooler, but just take that into account when searching for a cooler and choosing one. Okay, I'm checking out what's going to be the best option here. I'm going to take off the protection, and I'm just going to have to put the cooler here. Gotta turn it, and now I gotta screw down those screws to fasten the CPU block. And note that I didn't have to use any thermal paste this time, because there was thermal paste on the CPU block itself. Now if there wasn't any, you should of course install thermal paste, because otherwise your CPU is going to fry, and you don't want that to happen. Alright, now that is all fastened, and I gotta install this fan finally. So basically that's all done exactly like the first fan. So you take the longer screws, put them through the holes, and then, you know, start screwing them onto the radiator. Now I'll just make sure that I don't kinda, you know, hit too many cables here. Alright, so the fan is installed, and basically what I gotta do now is connect all the cables, and then I'm gonna start testing the cooler, and well, results are right here. Alright, and before I get to the overall conclusion, I have to show you guys the software right here. So yeah, this is the included software. What you can see on this in this window is basically the liquid temperature. You have a minimum, maximum, and average. You also have a sound level, so that's the sound level that's being produced by the fans, and I'm guessing that it's actually determined by the speed of the fan, which you can see here. And there's a little meter here, and there's also the pump speed right here. And there's also a little button here, and that's quite interesting and perhaps a little bit funny. Let me just try this. So now we're at the custom setting. You can change this to silent, and of course that speaks for itself. It's going to make sure that your system is just going to be silent so that the fans aren't going to be too loud. But then we have extreme, and this is something that you're going to hear. So you can clearly see that this is loud, and I think you can hear it. So let's put that back. And now the interesting part about the extreme setting though is that if your CPU is at 100% for example, or almost 100%, and you think that your cooler isn't cooling enough, and you set it at extreme, it actually gives you a very good cooling performance. If you don't care about sound or noise produced by your computer, I would seriously recommend making sure that you use extreme a lot, because if you have the CPU at 4 GHz, that's like the overclocked version I use in my tests, and it's running at 100%, instead of, for example, having a delta temperature of 41 or 38 or whatever degrees Celsius, I can let it be under 30 degrees Celsius. So that's awesome. Now let's move on. You have graphs here. That is just liquid temperature graph and fan speed graph. So if you make sure that it goes fast. Alright. And we go to the graph, you can clearly see that it went to the top there, and yeah, whatever. Very clear here. And then we have fan control. Here you can change a few settings, and I already changed a few here, but for the tests I used the stock settings. But I think this is a very good setup here. So the fan will start spinning a little bit faster when the liquid temperature reaches 35 degrees Celsius, and it will go at full fan speed at 45 degrees Celsius. And then you can use notifications here for the liquid temperature and fan speed. And then there's more settings here for displaying the temperature in Fahrenheit. You can start this program, you know, when it starts up, when the computer starts. So yeah, why not? You can change the skin of the program, you know, other stuff. And also this here, there's an LED on the CPU block, and let me show you guys this. So right there is the CPU block. Now I'm gonna change the color. Let's make it a little bit greener. And a little less blue. Or let's make it go out. You can just disable it. Or blue. Or purple. So you can actually just change the color of the LED so you'd like the color that it has. So that's quite interesting if you're modding your setup and you want the LED to fit the colors of the rest of your computer setup. And that's basically it for the software. Alright, and for the very first time a overall conclusion like this, so me right here and the product right there. Alright, overall conclusion. I'm gonna answer a few questions that people have asked me over the last couple of days, since there was worried that I was gonna be reviewing this cooler. Now, the first question is, does this perform well? Does it perform better than a normal air cooler? Well, yes and no. It does not perform especially better when when the computer is just idling. So I've got the temperatures here. I'm checking the temperatures on the paper here, and if I look closely enough, I can see that actually it's idle. The cooler is not really the best cooler out there. But then if you go to full load or overclocking, it certainly starts showing that actually it does have a good cooling performance. But I would recommend that if you really want the best out of this cooler, you should make the fan speed go up. So don't use the silent mode. Don't try to make it silent. So maybe you can say water cooling is good if you want to have a computer silent. So that's mostly what water cooling is to be about. But not this kind of water cooling, in my opinion at least, because there's still two fans in this thing. It's still two fans in your computer making noise, and you know they're not loud for the airflow that they produce. They're not that loud. But if you want the best performance out of this cooler, you should let the fans go at quite a high speed, or perhaps at full speed, if you really want that full speed, because you heard it was quite loud. But yeah, you get a very good performance if the fans are at a reasonable speed. And then, as I said, I tried to actually make the fans go fast. I didn't put this in the actual final results because that isn't the stock settings, and I do test results with stock settings or stock, everything that comes in the box and directly out of the box. But yeah, if I let the fans go a lot faster than they normally do, I had a temperature, and what was it, of delta temperature of 27 degrees Celsius at 100% load at 4 gigahertz instead of the 41 degrees Celsius that I just had, or let's say for example the Cooler Master Hyper 612S, which has 38.7 degrees Celsius there. But what I actually made happen with this cooler was that it was under 30 degrees Celsius, so that's very good. But now, another question that people have asked me, is this worth the money? Well, yeah and no again. I think it's worth the money if you have a big size tower case or a bigger tower than this one. Because now in this tower, there isn't much other cooling than the CPU cooling. And I have an intake fan here, and it does intake some air. But the overall temperature inside the case is a lot hotter. So I think it's best to buy this kind of cooler if you actually have a bigger case. But again, if there was a possibility for me to install a fan in the top of this case or in the bottom, or to intake and exhaust more air, I think perhaps it would be good in a mid-sized tower case as well. But my opinion now is it's better to install this kind of coolers in a big size tower. And just to make it clear, this is actually the very first type of liquid cooler that I have ever reviewed. So, just so you know, if you were thinking he's not right, then you know why that might be, if you think my opinion is a bit messy. But anyway, price quality wise, I wouldn't really say that it's great. It's expensive, like almost 100 euros, and you get the kind of same performance as you can get from a 50 euro air cooler. So is it worth the money? If you like the looks, I think it is. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about the price quality of this cooler or the performance. I'm gonna keep my opinion to this. Performance wise, it's pretty much the same as an air cooler or better. So it's not worse, it's better. Then price quality wise, it's not the best price quality out there, but if you like the looks, if you want the performance that it could give, thinking about the noise that it can produce though, I would certainly consider buying one of these coolers. Okay, and that's it for those two aspects of the cooler. Now, another thing, installation, how is that? Well, installation, I gotta say it's quite easy to do. I didn't really know how it was gonna be happening at first because I'd never installed a cooler like this before. It actually is quite easy how they make that. It's actually, I find a bit easier than some air coolers that I've installed in the past. So installation was very nice. Then, what else? Yeah, the software is actually quite interesting to use. You know, the LED also is a quite nice addition there. But there was a problem with the software, I don't know, but it seems to crash from time to time. I don't know why, but I think if I minimize it or something, not if I minimize it, but yeah, at some point it just stops working and it doesn't want to start again, so I have to restart the computer for that, so that's a bit silly. I don't know why, but it did, so just want to throw it out there. But yeah, overall, I gotta say, because of the nice design on that cooler and the performance and everything, gotta say that this is an awesome CPU cooler. Anyway, if you guys want to check out more pros and cons, the entire list, you can find that on our website, and that is www.CCReviews.eu, and you can find the link here below. And if you want to leave a comment, do that on the website as well, or as well here on YouTube. And if you haven't liked it yet, this video, like it. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. And I'd like to thank Antec for sponsoring us for this review, and I'll see you guys in the next video.